Facebook land, what's happening to all the fam in IG land. And always, as usual, you can give us a call in. Call in and give us your thoughts. As usual. We had quite a few events taking place last night, man. I was in and out and about with a few classmates, so I was peeping in and out of a lot of the fights, and I caught quite a bit of it. But we'll go over it this morning, man. We had a UFC Fight Night last night. One of the fights on that card, the main event, is my pick thus far for possibly the fight of the year. That was an all-out brawl last night, so we're going to talk about that as well. Sean, Big Sean, what's good, baby? How you be? I see you. I see you. Appreciate the love too, man. Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. A bit of news in the worlds of MMA and boxing. Referee John McCarthy, well, you know he's not with UFC anymore. He's over with Bellator, but he spoke quite a bit about the fight that he refereed with John Jones and Gus Gustafsson a few years back, and he stated that if it wasn't for him refereeing that fight, that John Jones would have lost that fight and lost that belt. That's debatable, but we'll talk about that as well. Bit of sad news in the world of boxing. Well, not sad, but a bit of concern. One of the all-time greats, the living legend Roberto Duran, tested positive for COVID-19 coronavirus. He remains in a hospital. We will give a status update on his health as far as we know. And also in the world of boxing, heavyweight boxing contender Jarrell Big Baby Miller failed his fifth, yes, that was not a typo, that was not a mispronunciation, his fifth drug test. I'm going to pause on that for a second. His fifth drug test. How he made it that far, I am totally confused. We will discuss that in the field. Yeah, so he failed his fifth drug test. And we have another ESPN boxing. ESPN is the top rank. When they announced that they were coming back live and they were going to do their events the same way that the UFC were going to do theirs without the fans in attendance, of course, because of the pandemic situation, they've been pretty successful. There was a lot of concern about their revenue that they would receive, or the lack thereof, because of how their business is set up and the ticket sales that wouldn't be taking place. But they seem to have been doing quite successful, and the cards that they have been putting on thus far seem to have been pretty good. They have a lot more good than bad, so I was impressed. So they have another one, a championship fight coming up this Thursday, July the 2nd. Jonathan Quindle versus Jamal Herring. That should be a pretty interesting fight, and we're going to talk about that as well. So, last night's fight. We'll start with UFC Fight Night last night, and the main event was an absolute barn burner. We had the number 3 ranked, the lightweight. That lightweight division is stacked, yo. And they put on a show last night. The main event last night was proof of that. You had number 3 ranked Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker. The amount of action, the amount of striking, the amount of blows is more particularly in their first 2 rounds. Leading into the 5th round, where the action was still kind of lit. It died down a little bit, but it was still at a high pace. And up to this point, thus far, with the UFC's return after the shutdown due to the pandemic, they also have been putting on some pretty decent cards thus far. They were kind of the front runner in the sports world, getting back to some type of normality after the pandemic shut everything down. And last night's card was that, especially that main event, was lit. Man. So, as far as Dustin is concerned, Dustin Poirier, he was out. He was out for quite a while. This is his first fight back since he had hip and labrum surgery. So, for those of you who understand how intense and or painful that can be, I'm sure you can understand how probably hard that whole rehab and conditioning and getting back into fight shape was. You know, there's getting into shape, and then there's getting into fight shape. So I can imagine how intense and how difficult that was. But he showed that he was good last night because he put on the show, man, and that fight itself was savage, yo. He won by unanimous decision last night. And again, that fight thus far is my vote for Fight of the Year. Understanding that we still have quite a few months left, and I'm looking forward to the next UFC card, which will be on the 11th, UFC 251, where Usman will take on Burns for that welterweight title. And that's going to be held on, give me a second here, Saturday the 11th. Not this coming week, the 4th of July. It will be the following Saturday, the 11th. So I'm looking forward to that one. But last night, man, listen. Poirier, Diamond Dustin Poirier. He's been around for a while. A veteran in the league. 31-year-old. And the first 2 rounds, it looked like Dan Hooker was in rare form. He put on the attack. He attacked Dustin last night. For those of you who saw it, you saw how intense the whole fight was intense. But those first 2 rounds were key. Especially how it looked like it was going to turn out in regards to Dan Hooker's offense and how he was aggressive in attacking Poirier. And it looked like he had him hurt a couple of times, where as though that you would think that Dan was going to close the deal. He wasn't able to do it for whatever reason. And every time you thought that Dan was going to close the deal or he had the fight possibly finished, Dustin would get whatever second or third or fourth win back in him, and they would start to trade blows again, and they were going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Those first 2 rounds were instant classics, man. That second round, hands down, the round of the year so far. Both of these dudes were leaking bad. Looking at Dustin's face after that second round, when the doctor having to check him out, you were kind of hoping that the doc, with the amount of intensity that was going on within the fight, you was kind of hoping like, you see maybe he's hurt, you see a cut, he's leaking kind of bad. Dude, please don't stop the fight. And there was a moment at that, you were thinking like, hold on, he's looking at it like he might want to just wave it off, but nah, he let him keep going. Nasty cut under his right eye, man, of Dustin. And Dan's right eyelid had a nasty cut as well. Again, both of these dudes were leaking, man. They talked to Dustin after the fight, during the post-fight interview, and he said that the only time he was hurt in the fight was when Dan got him against the fence and slipped the knee in there. That was in the second round. I remember that's when he kind of got like hurt for real. So Dustin said it was pretty impressive how he got his hips up without telegraphing. When I remember when he got him up against the cage, and I thought he was going to get that takedown. He said that he flashed out for a second. He was throwing hooks at me, but we regrouped and came back stronger. That's why a fight isn't a fight until there's something to overcome, and we came back tonight. Yeah, he definitely did. Because if he would have stopped the fight, I'm not to say, I'm always the type of guy that's for protecting the fighter protection. You got to look out for the best interest of the fighter. And a lot of times you have to protect the fighter from themselves. I say that a lot. But that was one of those instances where I'm pretty sure I would have been pissed if they would have stopped it, man, because of how much of a back and forth that fight was. And again, more particularly, those first 2 rounds. I was watching this joint like, man. Like we was at the Green Turtle and you had it on the screen, and then I would have it on my phone, and like it was crazy. But it seemed as if like they didn't really start I don't want to really say slow down, because they kept the pace up, understandably. So they kept the pace up as best they could. And of course, you're going to get tired and a little exhausted. Maybe toward the end of that third round, you started to see it die down a little bit. But during those first 2 rounds, you saw more striking, more of a stand-up, them going back and forth with each other. And towards the end of that third round, going into the 4th and 5th, when you saw that the fight started getting more and more on the ground, it appeared, at least to me, where Dustin Poirier seemed to be more active, maybe even the more dominant fighter. Maybe he felt more at home and more comfortable when they got on the ground, man. Oh man, one of the reports that I saw on Bloody Elbow was talking about the outcome, man, and they were saying that round 2 was replaced by the more technical tone of the 2 rounds, which it was, as each fighter traded jabs and body shots, but it was Poirier who had Hooker fighting for survival late, applying the triangle choke, the arm bar, and the guillotine. Of course, which he was able to get out of, man. But again, it was more of a back and forth until those later rounds. And Dustin said he felt like he could have been a little bit sharper, which is, I'm sure, why they gave. Well, let me not say that, because he did get the unanimous decision win. And I felt like he was the more active. It seemed like he was the more aggressive fighter more times in the fight than it would have been if, I guess, they would have ruled in Dan Hooker's favor. And I agree with that statement. That it seemed like he was Dan Hooker was the one that was trying to fight for survival more, as if that, he knew he was down on the cards, and he was, in my opinion. He knew that if the fight went to the decision, which it did, as if he knew that he was down and he was going to lose if he didn't act to try to get maybe the submission or the late knockout or something to that nature, whereas though he would try to just end the fight right there. And I'm thinking about the outcome of this fight, and Dustin, again, he just came back from surgery. It was a while before he was able to get back into the fight. That last fight he had was against, let me pull up his tab, before this was when he lost to Khabib. He lost to Khabib back in September for what he fought Khabib for the lightweight championship. So now, with him winning last night, he was ranked, what, number 3? Yeah, he was ranked number 3. And I'm wondering, now, with Conor gone, Conor has allegedly retired. You can never really take Conor at his word for stuff like that, but it appears as if he did. You got Tony Ferg, you got Justin Gaethje, who's probably going to be fighting Khabib for the interim. I'm just wondering if you can throw Dustin's name in the mix now with that and that lightweight division. That lightweight division is stacked. I'm looking at it right now, like, yo. And I'm sure he's itching to get a rematch against Khabib. I'm not sure how that's going to turn out for him, but let's just say that Justin is able to beat Khabib. Even though I'm favoring Khabib, I'm thinking Khabib will win that fight. I do believe Khabib is favored going into the fight as far as, the bookies and Vegas and stuff like that. I don't, with that being said, I don't think it's far-fetched that Justin can beat Khabib. Do I think Justin is going to beat Khabib? In my opinion, nah. Is it possible? Absolutely. So we have to consider the fact that if Dustin's name does go into the championship hat, so to speak, he could possibly be fighting Justin instead of Khabib. Yeah, we can't rule that possibility out, man. But definitely a dope fight last night. Up until this point, in my opinion, the fight of the year. That second round, the round of the year, the action that was in that round was just unbelievable. Obviously, we're going to have to wait to see what the rest of these cards and the actions thereof looks like. But right now, as of right now, that fight last night has it. I was thoroughly impressed, man. As good as that fight was, it makes me, it makes me wonder, would they want to run that back? If I had to guess, I would say no, because of how high ranked, Diamond Dustin is, and with him being that high ranked, I'm sure him wanting to get another shot at a belt, whether it will be against Khabib or against Justin. And I'm assuming they're gonna see with these rankings, man. Of course, we're gonna have to wait till Wednesday when the UFC adjusts the ranking table. But I'm wondering if they're gonna move Dustin up to number 2 now, because Justin being the interim is number 1. Tony Ferg is number 2, and Dustin is number 3. But remember, Tony Ferg just lost. Tony Ferg lost to Dustin, which is why he's the lost to Justin, which is why he's the interim. So I can't call that one, man. That's gonna be a tough one. I'm not sure how that's going to pan out. That's a tough one, man. That guy, that has me thinking now. I don't know. Well, we're gonna find out soon. So, let me know your thoughts, man. Keep it popping on the Facebook. The Facebook live feed always jumping. Keep it popping on the Facebook live feed, the Instagram live feed, and remember, you can always watch the show afterward. I always post a video on the YouTube channel as well. So make sure you guys stay tuned to that. Now, oh, and please don't forget, always call in. You can always call in and give your thoughts. 516-590-0996. Again, Combat Conversation. Call and holler at me. 516-590-0996. Also on that card, had a welterweight bout last night. Platinum Mike Perry. Now, I know there's a lot of controversy surrounding this guy, Mike Perry, man. But he's a little nuts, man. But he's as brash as they come, and that's putting it mildly. But he looked good last night. He had a win. He got a win over Mickey Gall last night, snapping his 2-fight losing streak. So that's definitely good for him. That was the co-main event for last night's fight. A little weird that he only had one person in his corner. His corner man was his girlfriend. Wasn't really expecting that, but you know, hey, nevertheless we're here. But he looked really good. It was a pretty dominant performance over Mickey Gall last night, especially in those final 2 rounds. Thought he was going to be able to end it with the submission decision. I said submission decision. With the submission win, excuse me. Mickey was able to squeeze himself out of it, but he did enough to get the unanimous decision win, and I did agree with the win, because he was a dominant fighter for pretty much throughout the fight. Like Mike Perry was. And he's a fighter. Oh, excuse me, IG fan. There you go. That's better. He's a fighter that's looking to get back into the rankings, obviously. I'm not sure how that's going to pan out for him now. I think he would have to show some more with him going. He just snapped that losing streak. So he's going to have to work his way back up some more for him to get within those ranks. I thought I had his tab open here, but it's nothing for me to pull it back up, so give me a second. But, not to take anything away from Mickey Gall, because he looked okay. He didn't look like the, I want to say, I guess, the usual Mickey Gall. Maybe it's because he was fighting Mike Perry. But he looked like his striking improved significantly. But it was not enough. Here's my Mike Perry tag. Okay. So, but it was not enough, in my opinion, and in obviously the judge's opinion, to get him that win. But when you're fighting a crazy dude like Mike Perry, this guy's nuts though, man. Like some of the stuff he even says. Like if you follow him on Twitter, you see some of the stuff he tweets. Like this dude is kind of like out there. But again, that's just Perry's gonna parry, man. For those of you who know what I mean. Yeah, he's coming off of Mike Perry coming off of 2 rough losses, man. One in August of last year, that split decision win, which honestly, I remember that fight against Vicente Luque. That one kind of could have went either way. But that fight he lost in December, Geoff Neal, he lost that TKO by TKO. First round TKO at that. So this was a good bounce back win for Dustin. Don't really see him. Let me see. Mike Perry, though. Yeah, I see you, Lee. What's good, baby? Yo, I was just talking about how crazy Mike Perry is, man. He's, me putting it, he's a little brash, and that's me putting it mildly. But, I'm just looking at the rankings and looking at his resume. I don't see him coming up that, the welterweight ladder, at least not right now. there's way too many welterweights that are in the welterweight division that deserve to be in the ranking in front of him regarding that top 15. For those of you who don't know, I'm sure most of you do. The UFC keeps their ranking system within the rank from 1 to 15, and the rest kind of just like, just work their way in and out when they can, according to, wins, losses, performance, things of that nature. And he spoke about it. Mike spoke about that for just a brief second last night, but I don't really see that happening. Looking at the welterweight division now, looking at the ranking. But again, Perry's gonna Perry, man. My man Justice. I see you, bro. Says Mike Perry can be a contender with a good team and a special coach. And you know what, Justice? I don't think his past coaches did him any good either. He's a special guy. He's a special guy in a different kind of way. But I don't think that him putting his girlfriend in the corner as his lone corner person was any type of significant improvement either. I can't speak on her. I don't know her MMA and or / coaching experience or how extensive it might be. But I just didn't see that as being an improvement from his previous experiences regarding his cornermen. But okay, well, the flip side of that coin is when he was with them, he lost. Last night he won. So I guess he can make a case concerning that. He has a bit of an argument there. I don't know how to prove that she was the deciding factor. Maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. But I'm not really sure which way to go with that one. But just me, I wouldn't have done that. I don't know. My wife used to box. I ain't put that in my corner. But still, I don't know, man. But you never know. But I will say this: he looked good. He looked better than has in the last 2 fights when he took those L's. So I have to give him that. So maybe that was an improvement. Maybe it was a mental thing. I don't know. But he looked good. He probably did. He didn't go into the classic post-fight say some crazy shit type of Perry either. Which was a surprise after a win. I'll be sure to check his Twitter today. I didn't check it last night. That's usually where he tends to go off into a tangent or to the left. But I will check it today to make sure. But he did. He looked good. I got to give it to him, man. He did. Give me 1 second here. That out. Where we at here? Oh man, that went out. All right, we're good. So also on that card, we had what did we have? We had a heavyweight fight. We had Maurice Green versus Gian Vellante. So Maurice, he looked good last night as well. He beat Gian by a really nice arm triangle, man. That joke was kind of slick. 3rd round arm triangle choke. He took his record to 9-4, while Deontay, he falls to 17-12. This being his 2nd straight loss. And also last night we had the middleweight fight. The 13th ranked Brendan Allen versus Kyle Dawkins. Brendan continued his roll up the middleweight ranks. He beat Kyle last night by unanimous decision. This was Kyle's UFC debut last night. So I'm, trying to figure out how that pans out for a whole, welcome to the UFC, buddy. Give me 1 second, man. This connection is tripping. Give me 1 second now. Okay. Wow. Here we go. Okay. All right, we're good. All right. So, absolutely, most definitely, man. Tell me what you guys thought about last night's events. You can always call in 516-590-0996. Keep the Facebook live feed jumping. Keep the Instagram live feed jumping. Tell me what you guys thought. So, moving along. John McCarthy spoke out. For those of you who don't know who John McCarthy is, he is over at Bellator MMA now, but he was a very prominent, very famous referee over at the UFC. So, after being interviewed on a on a podcast a few days ago, he stated that John Jones, and after reading some notes from the interview, he made a bit of a point. He claims that John Jones would have lost his world title if he wasn't refereeing that fight at UFC 165. For those of you who aren't aware, UFC 165 is where John Jones defended his light heavyweight title against Andrew Gustafsson. And there was a bit of a controversy as to who people thought won that fight. And understandably so. There were majority of the people that I know, that I talked to, that I've seen, that I've interviewed, that I've read from, felt as though John Jones won the fight. He did enough to win the fight, and of course, you give the champion always gets that champion benefit of the doubt, especially when it goes to decisions. If you're going to beat the champ by decision, you should have to, and at least in most cases you do, have to do it convincingly. But there were quite a few people that felt as though Gus won that fight. And a good case could be made and was made for that. I thought John Jones won the fight just by hair. And that's the issue I have with those type of fights. And I understand that you can't help it at times, but this is what happens when you leave the decision into the hands of the judges. Man, I tell you. Can we pull this up, man? One second. This is tripping. Come on. Apologize for 1 second about my Wi-Fi is acting a bit of an ass here, but I will fix that in a second. I feel like I'm about to be on the versus battle in a second, but this Wi-Fi is tripping. All right, there we go. We're good. All right, so as I was saying, he can make a case saying that Gus won the fight. But the thing is, like, we're talking about John Jones, and not to say that I want to judge that fight in regards to decision according to previous performances and performances with those particular fighters. More specifically, Gustafsson versus other fighters, because you know that fight is that fight. But I just think the case was more inclined to go in John Jones' favor. Well, let me read the notes. So, John McCarthy claims that Gustafsson, back in September, in that event, he went to war for 25 minutes straight. I'm quoting McCarthy now. Went to war for 25 minutes straight, resulting in both men being taken to the hospital following that fight, which is what happened. So John Jones was awarded unanimous decision victory that evening, and I'm thinking that it wouldn't have happened if I would not have refereed that fight. He said, let's talk about it this way. And he's saying this because he's saying John Jones thinks I hate him. Well, that's not the case. And this happened on the Weighing In podcast, hosted by John Thompson. This is what John McCarthy said. He says that John Jones actually at one point, he wanted to. It was before the Daniel Cormier fight, I think. He came out and said that he didn't want me, Big John McCarthy, during that fight. And it wasn't because of the fight that he had with Vita Belfort back in Toronto, Canada, where, there was a kick thrown and stuff. But it's okay that John Jones, he doesn't like me, and I think that he feels like I hate him. It is, or is it, that I didn't like John? No, I really did like John Jones. And I'll be flat out honest. John would have lost his world title if I wasn't doing that fight at UFC 165 when he fought Gus. There was not another referee that would have told the doctor, no, I am not stopping the fight, and let him go out for the 5th round and let the fight continue, because referees are not going to put their career on the line for a fighter. So they're going to say, you want the fight stopped? And then do this with their hands, motioning, you know how they wave the fight off and they stop it like that. So he said he didn't want to do that. And let the fight be over. And then if you do that, then Gus is going to be the winner, which obviously means that John's going to lose his belt. When John Jones fought Gus, he got hit with, I think, was a right hand on the right eye in the 1st round. And I do remember that. That's exactly how it happened. And split his eye open. He went through the fight, the 2nd round, the 3rd round. It got cut a little bit worse at the end of that 3rd round. At the end of the 4th round, the doctor came to me and looked at me and said, you know what? I don't like the way his eye's looking. You think we should stop the fight? This is what the doctor asked Big John McCarthy. And I looked at it, and John had just won the 4th round. You know, he came back because Alexander was winning, but then John Jones came back and almost finished Gus in that 4th round. And this man is the champ. He's been fighting with the eye pretty much the way it was for the entire fight, and he was. And he was never like dabbing at it or rubbing it or anything. So I looked at him, he looked at the doctor and said, he just won that last round. I don't think we need to stop the fight. So the doctor's reply to Big John McCarthy was, I don't like it. So I'll tell you what, we're going to let the fight go on. If I see the cut change, I'm going to stop it. And I'm going to bring you in. He said, right. So I said, all right, I'm going to let it keep going. That's when he let them go out and stop the fight. In that 5th round, I remember John kind of turned it up after that. This is the thing. I remember us a few weeks back having this, quite an extensive discussion about fighter protection during the fight. And you know, and not to go back to that and make it a long, drawn-out thing, but just so many, thinking of considering all the factors involved here. Like, you see the cut on John Jones's eye, and you know he's leaking bad, but the cut doesn't seem to be negatively affecting his fighting ability and or his ability to defend himself. And that type of cut, especially where it was being on his eye, you know, it can get and or be a lot worse than it looks, especially if the cut that's on or around his eye is leaking into his eye, which means the fighter can't see. Blood in the eye, the fighter can't see. The fighter can't see, the fighter can't properly defend himself. The fighter can't properly defend himself, he's in a lot of trouble. So you're thinking about how the doctor would have stopped that fight and the effect it would have had changing the whole course of, I mean, that would have changed the course of the division. Because that means John Jones would have lost, which means he would have lost the belt, Gus would have been the champ. And it's just a whole snowball of possible timelines that could have took place if that would have happened. So it also makes me think and consider about how tough a job these referees have regarding the executive decisions that they have to make right there on the spot concerning fighter healthy and fighter safety. And it's just crazy, man. It just, as much as I love the sport, I just can't I can't see myself wanting to be in that position. It's tough, man. It is hard to say how that would have turned out, but I can definitely see and understand the point that Big John McCarthy is making. My mind is snowballing to think of the possible outcomes and how the division and the UFC would have moved forward if they would have stopped the fight and John Jones would have lost. They would have gave Gus that belt. Wow. I'm curious to see what and or hear what John Jones has to say about that, if he's going to respond, if he's going to fire back at Big John. I mean, but he thinks that Big John would have done that or could have done that because Big John McCarthy doesn't like it. According to what Big John is saying, Big John has no beef, no issue with John Jones. And looking at it through this aspect, I believe that John Jones like that, he would have been like, man, F John, and stopped the fight, waved it off. It's the end. Take the L. Give Gus the belt. That would have been the end of it, and it wouldn't have been anything that John could have done about it. But he let the fight go. John came back, won the fight. Again, quite a few people, handful of people, that think that Gus won that. That's debatable. I thought John did enough to win it, but nevertheless, we're here. We know how that turned out. But you never know, man. I really don't see that happening again, especially now with John Jones speaking about the whole retirement thing and giving up the belt. Him beefing with Dana White about the money and this contract negotiation. That's like a whole nother show and topic, man. But we're here. But always, man, call in, give me your thoughts. Always chime in. Put your comments on the Facebook live feed. Put your comments on the Instagram live feed. You can always call in, talk to me. 516-590-0996. Again, combat conversation. Give me a call. 516-590-0996. Moving right along. A bit of news, a bit of concern in the world of boxing about one of the GOATs. One of the absolute all-time greatest boxers to ever step in the ring. Roberto Duran seems to be having a bit of health issues. He tests positive for the Rona. Yes, he tested positive for coronavirus. He remains in the hospital. Multiple news outlets confirmed that boxing legend Roberto Duran, he did test positive on Thursday. He is admitted to a hospital in Panama City, Panama, because of the viral infection. They spoke to both his sons, Robin Duran and Roberto Jr. Robin said that my father's tests have just came back and confirmed that he is positive for COVID-19. Thank God he is not having symptoms beyond something similar to a cold, and we are expecting him to have a full recovery. That's what his son Robin said. Duran, 69-year-old Duran, maybe you throw that in there. He was taken to the health center as a preventive measure due to his age, because he's 69, and he has a lung that doesn't work at 100% capacity due to an accident he suffered in 2001 in Argentina. So I'm pretty sure that he is considered, because of this health risk, he is considered, his health issues, excuse me, he's probably considered high risk for virus complications. Hopefully he will be okay, man. You hate to see this happen to anybody, especially one of the GOATs like Hands of Stone, Roberto Duran. I grew up watching this guy, man. My pops was a big Roberto Duran fan. So shout out to Roberto Duran. Hope he gets well soon. His son, Robin, says, we have spoke with his doctor and he told us his lungs are fine for right now and there are no signs of any serious damage. In the post, his son, the son of his son, also thanked his father's fans for their support and says his father will remain at the hospital under observation. His other son, the boxer, Roberto Jr., was on Twitter the other day and tweeted, my pops is going to be fine. Thanks be to God. Thanks for everyone's support. Roberto Duran, one of the GOATs, rose to fame as a lightweight champion and is considered one of the greatest boxers of all time. Hands down, without a doubt. Without a doubt. He was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 2007 after a 33-year professional career that yielded a 103-16 record, 103 wins and 16 losses with 70 knockouts. That record is ridiculous. His most memorable rivalry was that against Sugar Ray Leonard. Their first fight in 1980 in Montreal, Canada. Duran beat Leonard to win the WBC welterweight title. 5 months later, Sugar Ray stopped Duran in the 8th round in the infamous No Mas fight. That is the two classics actually. One of the most iconic in sports history. I remember I was 5 years old, man. I don't remember the actual fight, but I remember my pops going nuts about it. And my older brother going nuts about that fight growing up, man. I remember vaguely them talking about it so much, man. But I was a little kid. I was about 4 or 5 years old. So that's, my memory of not remembering watching it. It's too young. But I definitely remember them raving about it. Another one of Duran's career highlights came in 1989 when he stopped Iran Barkley to win the WBC middleweight title. Shout out to the Hands of Stone, the GOAT, one of the GOATs, Roberto Duran. Hopefully, they are expecting him to have a full recovery from this coronavirus. Hopefully, we'll get well soon. We are wishing you the best. Roberto Duran Sr. Absolutely one of the GOATs. Now, this guy, since we're on the subject of boxing, I have no idea how this actually was allowed to happen. For those of you who are familiar with this guy and follow boxing, heavyweight boxing contender Jarrell Big Baby Miller fails drug test for the 5th time. I'll say that again. Heavyweight boxing contender Jarrell Big Baby Miller failed his 5th drug test. How in the hell do you allow somebody to make it that far? How do you not bust this guy and strip him before he gets to the 5th drug test? Is he still around after the 2nd and 3rd? Anyway, all right. He failed the 5th drug test. His license temporarily suspended by the NSAC, the Nevada State Athletic Commission. A report coming out from multiple outlets confirming that heavyweight boxing contender Jarrell Miller has reportedly tested positive for PEDs once again. This is for the 5th time. He was scheduled to make his top-ranked boxing debut against Jeremy Forrest on July 9th, but for obvious reasons that will not be happening. Yo, how do you fail your 5th consecutive drug test? I'm just bewildered at that. Like, what the hell? Anyway, Big Baby Miller, 23-0 with 1 no contest, 20 of those wins are KOs, famously was supposed to be fighting Anthony Joshua for the titles last year for Anthony Joshua's state's debut, for his United States debut. Excuse me. But Miller not only was popped for GW 1516, for those of you who know about that PED Enduraball, which initially pulled him from the fight. That's what got him busted initially. He also tested positive for HGH and EPO. So those 3 PEDs cost him at least $5 million in purse money. And because of him getting busted, him getting pulled from the fight was what allowed Andy Ruiz to be set up for the fight against Anthony Joshua. We all know how that turned out, with one of the greatest boxing upsets in quite some time. Anthony eventually was able to beat Ruiz in the rematch, but initially that was supposed to have been Jarrett Big Baby Miller's fight. So Jarrett Big Baby Miller, being tested for his fight with Joshua, got busted with multiple PEDs, got pulled from the fight, which allowed Ruiz to take the fight on somewhat short notice, and he was able to pull off the upset. But it says that as for what prompted this failure, Bob Arum, the guy who runs Top Rank Boxing, told the Ring's Ryan O'Hara that it is a substance that was in his system in the past. Now, Bob Arum tweeted saying that on Monday, the Nevada State Athletic Commission will temporarily suspend, which is tomorrow, suspend Jarrell Big Baby Miller's license. He was told by Bob Arum that he tested positive for the same drug in the past, which means it was one of those 3, the HGH, the EPO, or the GW 1516. Some people just don't get it, man. Like, I don't know how you managed to fail your 5th consecutive drug test. That is beyond me. But nevertheless, we're here. Now, this is the thing. So Big Baby Miller, having the weigh-ins previously, weighed in north of 300 pounds in his last 3 fights. And during these fights and during his training regimens, he was known for an unusually high volume of cardio for a man his size. So if you see a man that's usually weighing in above 300, at 300 plus, and he's moving and has the cardio of a guy that's 200, 250, that should raise an immediate flag. And I understand it's not like that. These steroids and these PEDs, and they make you superhuman. But it is scientifically proven and has been shown to give a significant advantage to these fighters, anywhere from 30 to 40% increase above what is considered normal. And that's significant. I just don't get it, man. I don't get it. But nevertheless, we're here. It says that lest we forget that in 2014 he competed, and I do remember that. He was a kickboxer in Glory. He competed in Glory kickboxing, and Miller was suspended 9 months for testing positive for a PED back then. Which means that this one he just got busted from not too long ago, weeks ago rather, was his 5th drug test failure altogether. Now, it says that you might be wondering why Miller never received any serious punishment for all of these failures. It says, well, technically speaking, the New York State Athletic Commission was powerless to do anything because Miller wasn't licensed. He wasn't licensed to fight in that state of New York. He did get licensed in Nevada this time, and depending on how this case plays out, their commission could take into account his history and drop the hammer down. If this goes how I think it's going to go, with this being his 5th consecutive failed drug test, I really do not see him fighting ever again, professionally. I just don't. I am confused as to how he made it this far. But, we'll see. Man, I tell you. Whew. Alright, so before we roll out, man, we're going to take a quick look at, again, Top Rank, man. I'm glad to see boxing back. Top Rank has an additional card. This one has a championship fight on ESPN. This Thursday, coming up Thursday, July the 2nd, we have Jonathan Quindo versus Jamel Herring. They will be fighting for the World Boxing Organization, the WBO, Super Featherweight title. That's this Thursday, July the 2nd on ESPN. Make sure y'all check that out. So Jonathan, 31-6, he's going to be fighting Jamel for the belt. Jamel is the current WBO junior lightweight champ. He's won 5 straight, and he's successfully defended his junior lightweight title once. Both of these fighters are very, very good. And apparently, I am much more familiar with Jamel than I am with Jonathan. I've actually been following Jamel quite a while, Jamel Herring. I've just started following Jonathan Quindo more recently. He appears to be a very, very good fighter. Jamel is an awesome fighter. Looks really good in the ring. There have been instances where people have been questioning his quality of opponent. Saying he really hasn't fought anybody. That's debatable, looking at his resume. But I'm looking forward to this being a really, really good fight. I'm thinking that Jamel will win this. Because I'm just going off of making that assessment off of what I've seen between the two, and I've seen more from Jamel than I have from Jonathan. But that's left to be determined, so we will see. We'll find out. So we'll talk about the results of that next Sunday, and also next Sunday we will take a look into the upcoming UFC fight that will be on July the 11th. That Saturday, July the 11th. That will be UFC 251, where Kamaru Usman will be putting his title on the line, defending his title, his welterweight title, against the #1 ranked Gilbert Burns. So that should be a dope fight right there. And it looks like there's going to be quite a few fights on that card as well. So we'll be taking a look at that. As a matter of fact, let me see. Give me 1 second. Lifetime ban. I see you, Justin. You know what, though, Justice? I agree with you as far as Big Baby Miller. He should receive a lifetime ban. What I don't understand is why did it have to get to his 5th failed test to reach that point? And I understand the politics involved in regards to what state he was licensed in, and because of what state he's licensed in, what that state or other states outside of his licensing are able to do, and how severe the punishment can be for the first offense, the second offense. I get all of that. But, I mean, really though, the 5th straight test, failing the 5th straight test. I don't know. But nevertheless, we're here. I really feel like you're going to see a lifetime hammer come down. If it's not a lifetime ban, I will be completely shocked. I'll be completely shocked. But next Sunday, we will be taking a look at the UFC 251 card. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull that card up. We already know that Kamaru Usman, now I'm looking forward to that fight. He will be taking on, okay, come on, UFC site. There we go. Come on, work with me. He will be taking on, there we go. All right, yes. He will be taking on Gilbert Burns. And who else do we have on this fight? I apologize for my Wi-Fi. It's moving so slow, but I got it here. I'm looking at Usman to win that fight by unanimous decision, by the way. I don't see either one of them getting, like, knocked out in that fight. I just don't. Come on. Come on. Okay. So, oh, excuse me. 2 title fights on that card. I am amped. This card looks like it's going to be stacked. So make sure y'all come back next Sunday. We're going to take a look at this card, man. You got Usman versus Burns. You got the featherweight title on the line. Alexander Volkanovski is defending his title against Mad Max Holloway. My man, Mad Max is back. I am stoked. We also have number 3 ranked Peter Yan versus Jose Aldo. And I believe that this is going to be for the interim bantamweight. You got a strawweight fight. My girl Rose, Thug Rose is back. Rose Namajunas is going up against number 1 Jessica Andrade. Yo, this card is lit. You got number 15 Amanda Ribas, women's flyweight versus Paige Van Zandt. Yo, yeah, we're going to have quite a bit to talk about next Sunday. Make sure y'all come back. We're going to take an in-depth look at this card and see how we think it's going to turn out. But until then, make sure y'all keep chiming in. Y'all can always call in. Make sure y'all chime in on the Facebook feed, chime in on the Instagram feed. Always make sure y'all call in. 516-590-0996. But I will definitely see y'all next Sunday morning, same time, 11 a.m. So until then, talk to you later, family. Love rapping to y'all, man. See y'all next Sunday. I'm out.